Hello, friends. I'm no therapist, but I'm your host, Stephanie Goodman. I'm a wife, a mother, a grandmother, and a woman of faith. Often friends ask me how I have a successful marriage while blending families and staying optimistic in life. This podcast features people with real-life stories about success in relationships and triumph over trial. Do you ever wonder if miracles still exist? On this episode, my guest is Doug Crockett, host of the series Miracles, When Heaven Touches Earth, where he interviews people who have experienced the hand of God in their lives. Doug talks about the miracles in his own life. So Doug, I would love for you to take us back on the journey of when miracles first started to plant its seed in your heart.
Love to. Thank you. It was about 6 years ago the idea went through my mind. Talking with some neighbors. In fact, I'll go even further back than that. I had certain experiences in the church that I was appreciating, that I thought I really liked talking to people spiritually about things. And not necessarily ecclesiastically, but also just what's going on inside of us. Why was this a good day or a bad day? How come I think this is important or not important? I enjoyed visiting with people in a very real perspective. And so that's why it doesn't have to be just the parting of the water so we can all gasp with wonder, and then we can all be impressed by that and talk about it. It's like, wait a minute. There are other things going on along with the big stuff that are interesting to me. So I really enjoyed speaking with people spiritually about what's going on with them, because I like to talk about what's going on with me, and it helps me to know what's going on with me too. With all the different people you talk to spiritually, and you see where they're coming from, you say, oh, yeah, me too. This is what's going on with me, and why is this important? And so I went through the process of talking with some people, and I asked them if they wanted to participate. And they said, well, and I hear this every time, no, I don't have any miracles, nothing big. I don't know what to say. It's like, right. Yeah, I know. Everyone says that. But the truth is, heaven is involved. So I gave them a challenge and just said, why don't you just spend a week and just write down what you see or experience. Just write it down. And it can be big, it can be little, but just write it all down. Let heaven know that you're present. I'm listening. I'm trying to follow this. I'm learning how to listen better. So I went to their homes, and there was about 4 of them in my neighborhood. And what I decided to do is I interviewed 4 people, and we talked kind of like this. How was your week? Well, this is what happened to me. Okay, and it's a visit. It's a back and forth. It's not a okay action. You go and I'll be quiet. It's like, no, let's talk about this. It's meant to be
conversational,
realistic. Mm-hmm. And I had some wonderful experience there. And I put all those 4 videos together into one video, and then we went and showed it to the ward, to the Relief Society. And they said, well, this is really nice. I said, well, I'm glad you liked it. I did too. I really enjoyed visiting with people heart to heart. I guess that's the best way to put it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that too. Spirit to spirit.
Absolutely. That makes me connect. We all need friends. Say, this is what's going on today. And not every day is cheery beautiful. Some days are rough. That was tough. Why did that happen? How come? The overarching understanding is that it's going to help me grow. I understand that, and I even agree with that. But still, this was tough. Help me make it to dinner tonight. Or
you're speaking from personal experience on that level of toughness, of really truly relying on the Lord's answers versus your own.
That's right. And understanding how that works. Sometimes we hear about people that get answers to prayers, and they hear voices and those things. But not always does it happen like that. And sometimes you feel the Spirit when people say things, and I felt it just as you mentioned that. I go, okay, so I need to pay attention to that. I need to understand that more. That needs to become a part of me. And so I thoroughly enjoyed talking with people, and the stories they were sharing, some were big, some were small, but they're all meaningful. If you recognize heaven has moved in your behalf, oh, you cared about that simple little thing that I care about. Oh, you really care about that much? Oh, well, this is what else is going. Thank you. I'm glad I have a relationship now that we can talk with God, and it's not just quiet, stoic, pious, and you need to be reverent when you pray, and I agree with that, but you can also have a reverent conversation too. I think you can talk to Heavenly Father in ways that are not just carefully scripted out, written down phrases.
Yeah. When you were going through your trial,
Mm-hmm.
did you ever find a point where maybe you were disdain with God?
That's an excellent question. My MS, that was an interesting experience because 22, whole world's in front of you. Great, at that age, your health is great and everything is great, so let's just move on to grand, wonderful things. Just barely got engaged.
Oh.
So that was interesting. I just woke up one morning and half of my face was numb. And so when my face was numb, I thought, that's really weird. I'll get through that. And a couple of days later, it worked itself out. Talked to my uncle, who's a dentist. I said, what is that? He's like, I'm not quite sure. And then he said the word we never like to hear. It sounds neurological. No one wants to hear that. So it got better, but then the next weekend it came back, and then things kind of got worse, and I moved on into other parts of my body where half of my body would be paralyzed. And so I thought, this has gotten further than I understood. So went and got some testing done, MRI, spinal tap. I'm sorry. Back to the doctor. Says, I'm sorry, I don't have bad news. I've got horrible news. You have multiple sclerosis.
He actually said that.
He said that. My dad was sitting in the office. It's interesting when we got there because the technician said, okay, the results are in, go to your doctor and he'll explain it all to you. Okay, so we went to our doctor. When we got there, he was on the phone and he pointed to a room to go into. But he didn't point to an exam room. He pointed to his office. Go in there. I'm still not knowing, well, okay.
Right.
The rest must be...
just do what they
yeah,
say.
I guess the other rooms are full.
Uh-huh.
So I go in there and he comes in there and that's when he closed the door. And he's kind of a friend of the family too. And he said, I'm sorry, I don't have bad news. I've got horrible news. And when he said that, I remember Dad and I both, when you hear stuff like that, kind of like when you hear like cancer or any other terminal, difficult, heavy things, you're not quite sure how to process that.
True.
I'm not sure what you're telling me.
It's like your ears turn off and your brain turns off.
Yeah, you just go to this
numb state.
You go to numb state. But I remember I didn't feel good, but I didn't feel like I was dying. So I'm like, I'm not sure how to process this or what you want me to do with this. However, when we had said about all we could say, I do remember being there, and I just said to the doctor, I said, well, I believe in miracles. And he said, so do I. And that helped me greatly in the next months, years, 5-6 years, as things moved as they did. Up, down, good days, bad days. I could get into school and I'd be okay for a semester. Okay, well maybe it settled itself out. I'm all right. But then it would come back the next semester. And I'd have to drop the semester and go home and try to get everything back in place. And so that would happen over time. I do remember in a different setting that my dad did say to me, he says, well, some miracles take time. And I agreed with that.
Those are wise words.
They are. We're on someone else's time scale. And anyway, after 5 or 6 years of going through that and trying to figure out what to do with my life, do I want to become a this? Do I go back to college and become a this? What am I supposed to do? So I just went and got a job after I graduated, and bachelor's is in zoology. I thought I was going to go into medicine. I was ready to take the MCAT, but my MS was flaring up, and I had to drop the semester, and I said, okay, maybe I got to do something else. So,
wow.
Yeah. So that went okay. I finished my degree. I didn't want to go back and change my degree because then I would be just in school longer and longer. I thought, no, let's just finish it. Went and got an MBA, then got a job just doing finance kinds of things, and that's been okay. And so that covers what I need to. But over the years, I should say, I noticed, 5 years went by and I was doing pretty good. I thought, oh, this is good. I tell my wife, oh, that's pretty good. I'm glad we're doing well. But still the fear of be careful, be careful, be careful. And I would hold all my energy in. Someone said, save all your energy to push your MS back in remission. Okay. So I stopped everything. Stopped playing basketball, stopped, all those things that I like to do, just because I was be scared. Don't do anything, so all your MS will push back in remission. So I did that. Then 10 years went by, and I was doing pretty good, and my thoughts became, I'm not sure if stopping everything is the way to go. I think you still need to keep going. So don't live with fear and stop everything. Keep moving forward. And things were better and better, and before I know it, it's been 20 years. I talked to my wife about it. I said, something's happened. I mean, I haven't had any issues in 20 years. And so we're still talking. It's like, so some say, well, do you have it still? I said, I don't know. There is no cure for it, according to the medical world now, but I'm doing very well, and I'm grateful. So I did go to a doctor once when I moved recently down to Lehigh. I was in Davis County for about 20 years. Moved to Lehigh, and the doctor saw my records, and he just said, so I see you have MS. And I go, I'm not sure what to say about that. Yeah, it's on the records, I understand that. However, I'm over 20 years, now I'm about 25 years. I haven't had any symptoms at all. I said, either I'm on an incredibly strong remission, or something's been taken. Something's been taken from me.
Oh.
And I said, and then he said to me medically, he says, all I can tell you is that as a doctor, I've never heard of anyone going into this kind of a remission for this long. I just never heard of it. So from that point, in my mind, okay, I stopped asking questions, and I'm just grateful. And you just say thank you. But that took a long time. I was doing pretty good, and you just don't even realize, oh, Heavenly Father's involved even right now in my day-to-day. The fact that I can go to work and be okay and not really think about it anymore. Mm-hmm. What a blessing. So that was as of recent that I've recognized this, and I'm just so grateful, and I have to just tell it's the power of God, because I don't know what else to attribute it to. I try to be healthy, but like everyone else, your cholesterol, and you just try and work and just be healthy. I'm very grateful, and I think it's important that I let others know God's involved, because I don't know what else to attribute it to, and so I'm very, very grateful.
Oh, I love that you recognize that in your life, because we don't all have that kind of a gift to recognize the hand of the Lord. And I love that you brought up to your friends to start writing it down.
Yeah, that's huge. Writing it down is telling you and heaven, I'm present, I'm listening.
And I'm open to receive.
Yes, open to receive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good way to go through every day. Now, we're good. We have good days and bad days. And that's okay. I had to learn that along the way too. We can't have perfect days all the time. We're not always happy, smiley, everything is no problem. So sometimes when I write it down at night, sometimes it's a great thing. Oh, this was really good. And so like my daughter's recently gone on a mission, so that was one of the blessings I wrote down. So this is a good thing. Some days, this was a really hard day. I have to struggle hard to find the good. So, but you can always find it. Heavenly Father, what happened today? Help me to see where you were involved. Oh, then a thought will come. Okay, that helped out. And,
I love that example of asking him to show you when you can't see.
Yeah.
What was blessed in your life for that day.
Yeah, some days are good days, some days are not. And so you have to think about it more. And some days I have an alarm goes off on my phone to remind me before I go to bed. So write down what happened. Okay.
A gratitude alarm.
Yeah, it's a gratitude alarm.
What does it say?
I've got to write it down. It just says, I've forgotten. When it comes up, I just go, oh yeah, it's my time.
Yeah.
Write down your blessings, write down your gratitude, something like that. It comes up every night, at 9 o'clock every night. So as my day's closing down. Okay. And sometimes it's funny. It's happened more than once. You're not in the best of moods when it comes off. Like, oh, what? But what's funny is that who am I saying what to? I'm the one that put it on. I put it on my phone to remind myself. So who are you getting upset at?
You have the power to swipe, right?
That's right. I say, well,
snooze. Push that snooze button.
Right. Exactly. So I keep on where I keep track of it on just this little journal app that I use, and on this journal app it tells me how many days in a row I've done it, and I've noticed that I've become kind of, I don't want to break that record. I better put it on because I want to see that number keep getting bigger. It's a psychological thing perhaps.
Yeah.
And I just go, okay, that's right, I've got to do it because I said I would do that. So I'm going to write it all down. So I write it all down, and it's up to, 375 days. So it's been a year now.
That's fantastic. That is a record to celebrate, especially for someone like me who I used to be a really good journaler.
Mm-hmm.
And I was actually thinking this morning, thinking of all the things that have happened in my life with my children growing up. Yes. We're at a point where we have our baby that graduated this year. So yes. We're at a new level of, we're not doing diapers. Right. Well, I guess we are because we have a grandbaby now.
Even better. So good for you.
Another step of our life.
Love it.
However, I have not taken the time to write down even little tidbits of how we were blessed. And I'm very, very detail oriented.
Yes.
And I love to have those details, but I will forget.
Right.
Very easily. And I think this is something I could never forget. And you don't write it down, it is gone.
That's right.
So how long have you been a journal enthusiast?
Just speaking with others, I was realizing, okay, how can if I want to make a change, if I want to do something, if I want to become a better person, a different person, how do you do that? And I've learned from a number of different people that says if you write it down, that's what makes the changes more permanent. Write it down. That tells you, that tells heaven, that tells others, okay, I'm present, I'm listening, I'm trying to follow what's going on here. I would write things down for a few days and then stop, get out of the habit or whatever. It gets tiring. Oh, I'll catch up on it later. We fall into those same things. And so as of recent, I said, okay, I've got to make this easier so that I can do it every day. If I make it big or I've got to write a big story every day, I won't. I'll be tired.
I love that you touched on that because I can definitely relate to that.
Sure.
I have many long journal entries that don't end because I ran out of steam.
Right.
However, the thing that has helped me is I go to the dollar store and I get those calendars that will fit in my drawer in my bathroom, actually.
Yeah.
In the bathroom is my journaling spot sometimes.
Absolutely.
We're being vulnerable here.
Life is
and
life.
I will write down just little tidbits of what was in there. But I have this much space to cover it in.
Right.
So I really have to be mindful of what am I covering.
That's a good point.
And then I'm done. And like I said,
I like that.
Like you said, you can see how many of the journal entries you've done, and that's an achievement to you. I like to flip through the calendar and see it's got the date.
Yes.
It also has the little details of what's been going on for that day.
I love that. I like how you put it. And when it's yours, then you can say what you want to say. And I like the idea of putting it on something you can write down, because that's yours.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can be scary. It's like, well, if I write all this down, someone might read it, and I don't know if just find a spot that's yours and write it down. Say, this is mine, and it stays here. And what I do, I have to write down 3 things, so I number them 1, 2, 3.
Oh,
and
I
it
like
can be,
that.
yeah, just a simple sentence. I mean, it's meant to be a sentence. Just say what you think. And so that's what I do. There are 3 simple sentences. Sometimes they'll go on. Sometimes they'll go on to 12. If it's a particularly meaningful day, I'll get more involved, and I don't want to stop at 3. I have to at least do 3. So hard day. Okay, I'll put 3. And if they're really okay, the blessings of thanks for not killing me. I mean, that I'm still carrying on, rather than something else. But I guess I should probably say this too. When this is all said and done, I want to be a better person from the whole thing. Mm-hmm. I want to feel better about things. Because not every day is this was so wonderful because of whatever. Mm-hmm. There are those, but there's things that are not. And you go, you know what? I got through today. Okay. And I've got enough steam to get up tomorrow and keep going again.
Yeah.
And that makes it more real. That's more of that is a God that you can talk to. That's a God you can go bump shoulders with and talk to about, rather than, I sure hope I don't mess up big time, or I sure hope or those kinds of ideas. Because we get to a place spiritually where I guess I used to think when I was younger, he was a vengeful God. What you're doing wrong, he takes notice, and you better not do that anymore. Perhaps I may have believed that. Maybe I'm still figuring that through. Perhaps I may have thought that. Just be a good person. Okay. But now I think differently about it. I think differently about how heaven works with us. I'm not of the same opinion where you have to measure to a certain grade. I heard this and it works for me. You have to be perfect? No, but you have to be perfect at trying. And that I agree with. So when I write my simple thoughts down every day, that means I'm being perfect at trying.
Right.
And I go, okay, then I'm not giving up.
I've never heard that before. Perfect in trying.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
That makes it so I can breathe.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I've heard it once said, and I can't remember who said it, but they said if you're so serious with everything you're doing, trying to be good, and I get all that. If you're so serious about trying to not do wrong things and do right things, which I think is a worthwhile thing to do, but if you're so serious about it, you're just grumpy all the time.
Mm-hmm. And self-criticizing, right?
Oh, gosh. You're right. And I think that is I've heard it before, but that's a huge tool of the adversary. If he can get you to get mad at yourself, and it comes off differently. You think you're being self-righteous about calling yourself out. Well, I'm just calling myself out, and that's a good thing. Maybe. Maybe not. You can tear into yourself incredible. And you can throw yourself under a bus so fast that you'll stop breathing. It's like, I'm just such an idiot, whatever. And you think you're somehow self-aggrandizing yourself by talking down on yourself. It's just backwards. It's like, whoa. That doesn't work. Talk good about yourself. Say something that's good about what's going on. This was a rough step. Okay, I understand that. But I'm not giving up. I'm not throwing in the towel. This came to me 3 times, so maybe I can talk about it. Sometimes when I've talked with people, various in and out of the church, they've come to me before and said, this is too much. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm out. And it came to, in my mind, I thought, okay, we've come to a decision point. I kind of use a little point to think about it. Something's happened. There's a decision point that I have to decide what I'm going to do with this. We can go this way, or I can go this way.
Okay. So can you describe that for our friends that are listening?
Yes.
What you've done with your hands.
Hold my hands up kind of like a little teepee here, a little point. And I call that decision point.
Okay.
So something's happened here that I got to decide what I'm going to do with that. So I can go down to the right, or I can go down to the left. If I go down, I'm going to say the left first, because I've talked with more than one person that this has happened. They decide, okay, God, this was too much. You don't know what you're doing, and so I'm not going to even do this anymore. I'm out. And they go down the left side. I call that the pride side. My pride says, this is crazy, God. You don't know what you're doing, and so I'm out. Or you can come to that same decision point and go to the right, which I call the faith cycle. And you go to the right, and you can still say, I don't get it. This was frustrating. This was really hard. I'm still angry about it. And, pick your words. It's okay to have those emotions. I'm still upset about this, but I'm not throwing in the towel. I'm going to ride this out and see where it goes. And that's real. That's like, everything's fine, blah, blah, blah. Unicorns and rainbows, I'm fine, everything's fine. No, not everything is fine, but I'm not throwing in the towel.
Right.
Because we're perfect at trying.
Right.
It's like, I'll just try again tomorrow.
So, Doug, that brings me to one of my favorite mantras. When I was single, I was a young mom. I had 3 children.
Tough stuff.
And I never thought that I was going to be in that story of my life. Ever. I did everything that I knew I needed to have that happily ever after. Right. And here I was going down the street, having to find daycare for my kids, which was another never in my life level.
That wasn't part of the plan.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Right.
And I saw a sign, an actual sign on the side of the street. And it was a billboard, and it said, experiences in life will make a man bitter or better. And then I add, it's a choice.
Yes.
And I decided, and I chose at that point, that anything that I went through was going to make me a better person. Because it was one teeny tiny letter, and I would take you down a whole different path of experiences. Or an E would take you down a whole different path of experiences. You get to choose. Like you said, you have the TP of choice.
Yes.
And you mentioned it being pride, which I deem as being bitter.
Yes.
And then faith, which I deem as being better.
Perfect. I love it. That's well said. I agree. And it's interesting, too. And you made a great choice. And so that helps you to feel better. But still, tough days come.
Tough days come.
That doesn't mean everything is fine.
Oh, no. It's not lollipops and
right.
unicorns, as you said. Yes.
Yeah, it's not like that. You just say, okay, we're going to keep on going. That doesn't mean fake smiles to the world. Like, no, we're going to be honest with this. I'm going to be happy because I want to be. I'm going to do the best I can because I want to be.
Right.
And if it's a rough day, it's okay if we say that. This has been kind of rough.
Yeah.
I'm not throwing the towel in. I'm just saying this has been rough. And so, and that keeps it real, and that keeps the day-to-day okay. So the really good days, thumbs up, smiles, we're happy for those. The really bad days, instead of going, oh no, what's happened? How did I get to this place and grovel in our misery? It's okay, I'm just going to get through this. And I'm not going to fake myself back to never mind, everything's fine, I'm fine. It's like, no, don't sell yourself short.
That's so important that you recognize that we can have those hard days.
Yeah.
As long as we're not making a home in those hard days.
I like
right?
how you said that. Yeah. This is just a spot. I'm not living here.
I'm here for a moment.
Yeah, I'm here for a moment.
To experience this this swamp of emotions.
That's right. That's
but
right.
I'm not making a home in it.
Well said. Well said. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't take up homage there. It's like, no. Or don't make a home out of it. I think what you said is better. Yeah, don't put your bed there. That's not where you're sleeping.
No.
You seen it? Okay, I'm going to go do something else now.
Yeah. But I also appreciate that you are not pushing those feelings away. And I think that's when we have to get real. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
When you recognize these feelings don't feel good to me, what can I learn from this? How do I grow through this experience and make me a better person versus a bitter person? If you've enjoyed this episode, remember to subscribe, share, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Instagram. Please comment because I would love to hear about what you think and what you want to see in the future. I'm no therapist, but I am your host, Stephanie Goodman.